That damage was without using her ultimate, while also down 20 levels. Want to know how? Well then stick around in my complete guide to Lynn, where I'll be going over how to properly use her kit, best Demon Wedge builds, best weapon options, and best teammates. Now just what was doing all that damage earlier? The answer is her skill. It will do an initial amount of damage and inflict a status effect called Laceration. Whenever Lynn does range damage to an enemy with Laceration, it will increment Lacerated Wound by 1, up to a max of 10. At the end of its duration, it will deal a burst of damage scaling with the amount of lacerated wounds. However, with it being duration based, how did I do damage that fast? Well, that's thanks to her first passive upgrade, which immediately inflicts the damage when lacerated wound reaches its maximum. These two combined is what single-handedly tore through that boss's HP bar. By building around this, we can achieve an insanely sanity efficient boss killing setup, which I will cover in both the Demon Wedge and weapon sections. Now on to what everyone knows Lynn for, her ultimate. She will pull out her dual revolvers and will not be able to move, only shoot and use skills. Shooting will deal damage to everything on screen, as well as ramp Lynn's attack speed up to a cap. During this state, she will continuously drain sanity, and will exit the ultimate if sanity drops to 0 or if cancelled by pressing her ultimate again. This ability is where most of the mistakes with Lynn come from, as it is not a good source of single target damage. The primary usage of this should be for clearing hordes rather than elites or bosses. And very quickly, her passive. It's a damage boost that stacks up based on the amount of time you haven't been shooting, which is shown by this nifty indicator at the bottom center of your screen in combat. There are two setups for Lynn that you can do, with one focusing on skill duration and one focusing on skill efficiency. However, there are wedges that will be shared between both, which I will go over now. The first of these is Prime Morale, the stat stick wedge, then Ifrit's Devouring Wildfire, which gives skill damage and a lot of attack. We also have Inferno Midnight Sun, which gives a separate attack multiplier, more skill damage, and some skill duration. Pan's Volition for some skill damage to even out the large amount of attack she gets from her other wedges. Lastly, Sphinx's Duel. This is technically a flex slot, as it only gives a 24% damage boost when you're fighting 2 or less enemies within 20 meters, so this makes it great for bossing, but not so great for horde modes. But it will still have decent uptime in horde modes against those hard to kill elites, as everything else should be dead from your ult, so I still recommend running it at all times. These last two slots will all either be Blaze Inspo or Blaze Eternity, depending on what you want to do with Lynn. Blaze Inspo will sacrifice the passive's damage boost uptime in favor of lower skill costs, allowing you to use your skill more comfortably. Blaze Eternity will be for using your ult alongside the passive's damage boost, but of course, your skill cost will take a hit. In my opinion, Blaze Inspo is the better setup, as the skill would make up for the damage loss from your passive. I want to also quickly go over her content's weapon Demon Wedges. The crit multipliers on her dual revolvers are not great, but the base attack is quite high, so we'll be going with as much raw damage as possible. This means we'll be running Impetus and Penetration for two different sources of attack percent, Celerity for attack speed, and Foldover for multi-shot. I'll quickly go over her best options, then show a cheap Demon Wedge setup for her ranged weapon to proc lacerations at a very fast rate. For ranged weapons, you have two options, the X-Crest Duo or Blue Current Pulse. The X-Crest Duo gives 24% skill damage, making it the better general option as it buffs her skill and her ultimate. The Blue Current Pulse, on the other hand, gives 50% skill duration alongside 45% dual pistol damage, making it more tailored to only using the ultimate. In my opinion, the X-Crest Duo is better. Elites and bosses are the primary concern, as trash mobs will die regardless of which option. And when it comes to fighting elites and bosses, your skill will be a large majority of your damage. Up on screen is a cheap Demon Wedge setup to proc lacerations. It is focused on attack speed and multi-shot, and with this setup you should be able to proc laceration within 2 shots. For melee weapons, Wainwraith is by far her best option. She lacks skill damage from her wedges, so any other source where she can get it from is a great option for her. Another option could be Blade Amberglow, however attack is quite a saturated stat on her, so you'll see much lower performance in comparison to Wainwraith. She works with quite a few people from the support roster, though the most notable of them is Truffle and Filbert. She provides an 89% damage boost, which is great for Lynn's entire kit. You should always be running her. Tabitha provides a 60% skill damage boost. Note that this buff does not apply to her ult, but as has been discussed earlier in the video, your primary concern is dealing with elites or bosses. Hellfire is a solid option at Intron 1. At Intron 1, she provides a 30% damage boost alongside 45% attack. In the cases where she can taunt for another 50% damage boost, she becomes a lot stronger, however this does not apply in boss fights. Margie is another fine option. She provides an 85% attack buff, though as discussed earlier, attack is quite saturated on Lynn already, making it much lower value. Lastly, Daphne is great if you are primarily using ult on Lynn, as the additional 20% animal damage she provides works with her consonance weapons. Her notable Introns are I6 and I4. I6 enables her ult to be efficiently used for single target scenarios, as it will allow it to apply laceration. This means you can switch the build over to be duration focused and take advantage of a longer passive damage boost window. I4 provides a nice 35% damage boost to enemies below 70% HP, which helps both her skill and ultimate damage. I do want to comment quickly on I2. It's not amazing on its own, as gaining attack speed in her ult faster doesn't solve it being bad for single target. However, combined with I6, it is a very strong Intron, as you will get even more out of the passive damage boost window. The rest are all okay damage boosts in the form of ability level upgrades and some morale. And that's it. Thank you for watching, and if you found the video helpful, a like and a sub would be hugely appreciated. Have a good day, everyone.